My name is Simon Zipper. I'm the CEO of Godela. And at Godela, we build AI that models the physical world accurately, specifically for highly technical domains so that mechanical engineers can use it to simulate how their parts will perform ahead of building and shipping. So it's very exciting to be able to talk to you guys about this for many reasons. Namely, right, we've seen the scale of innovation that's been built off language models, and so to our team, it feels very inevitable that bringing deep reasoning capabilities across physical domains will be that next layer of unlocking 10x innovation. And I think the term physics AI has many different meanings to many different people. When I think back to grad school, incredible people all around me were using machine learning driven approaches in science and engineering to achieve really incredible things. But for our team, and I'll be talking to you about today, it's going to focus on how we can use physically constrained AI models to accelerate engineering R&D. And this is mainly because we're very biased, so this is near and dear to our heart because our team is a team of mechanical engineers. Prior to building Godela, I was building laptops and iPads for Apple and Google and particle accelerators for Stanford. My co-founder was building models for rocket combustion and plasma etching, and my director of research is the chair of MIT at Stanford. So we're very eager to approach bringing physical intelligence to engineering workflows. And so to do that, I want to step into the world of what modern engineering looks like, to just context that here. Right? If you're an engineer, let's say, designing an automobile, or really anything, you're tasked with trying to figure out how can I design the next generation of this product that is going to hit this new performance target. Meanwhile, you're also going to need to ensure that you're hitting safety targets. And the way you do this is you've spent your entire education developing a command of physics and fundamental principles of how the world works. But ultimately, you still need a more rigorous method to validate this design. And so the general flow here is you start with your engineering requirements, you generate a 3D model, and then you go to your mathematical models, which is leveraging simulation tools that have existed for decades. These are tools like ANSYS and COMSOL. And then you analyze the results, and this triggers an update to your design. This cycle will repeat a few times. It's usually constrained by your compute and the time you have to iterate in this process. And then once you reach a design that you feel is a viable candidate, you might go and you might physically test it. Now, the challenge with this workflow is that it's incredibly inefficient, believe it or not. And I'd like to walk you through one specific example of this that's very near and dear to my heart. Your laptop, every laptop that you guys have, every phone, consumer electronic device you have, has to go through this validation test called 1 meter drop. And it quite literally is drop this device from 1 meter and let's assess the performance. And to do this, it is one of the highest unit allocations that we would need to spend at both companies that I've been in consumer tech. And you have two options, right? One, physically go and build a bunch of laptops and drop them, which is expensive, as I mentioned, or two, run this simulation. Now the thing about the simulation is even for a system that we understand quite well, the physics that governs it, this simulation might take 2 weeks to run. And so it's a very slow process, it's very expensive, and often the models that you get back are rigid, right? They fail to capture complexities of real world physics. So this is a metric that I like to throw out because I want to express how much of R&D is bottlenecked despite our tools advancing daily, right? These are development cycles in the defense industry, and you can see that they ballooned from 5 years on average during Cold War to now over 15 to 20 years today. Now this doesn't feel right given that, like I said, day to day we have these incredible advancements. And so the real impact here is that these breakthrough innovations, they'll never leave ideation phase because we won't have the ability to test them. We don't have even the ability or the bandwidth to run a mathematical model on them. So when language models started booming, me and my peers, my coworkers started evaluating what does it look like if we could apply the same type of breakthrough in terms of AI to this workflow. Could we reach a world in which we move from engineering requirements directly to a verified design recommendation, right? AI can generate poems for us, movies, these end-to-end complete deliverables. Can we do so for engineering? Well, here's what happens when we ask ChatGPT to go through that example I just shared, run a 1 meter drop simulation. It gets semantic reasoning. And this is because our current AI models that we think of they cannot model physics accurately. So for Godela, what we apply our research towards is figuring out what does it mean to bring true physical intelligence to AI, and what does that unlock for engineering workflows. And so to sit at this intersection of deep learning and physics, it means a few things. It means we need to learn how to represent these physical systems as a function of how their parameters impact the performance. And if we can do this, what it means, well, one precursor is we need to train on not language, but on 3D geometries, on simulation data, experimental data, things that will allow us to capture the relationships that govern the types of phenomena we're trying to predict. And when we do this, what it means is we can enable engineers to ask a question, a system level question, show me surface pressure on my car at 60 miles per hour, and get accurate predictions. And if this isn't exciting enough, the type of acceleration we're talking, when we ran this model, it was 4,500 times faster than a traditional numerical solver. So now I just want to touch on briefly the frontiers that this will unlock for engineers. Now, one that we just mentioned was how do you accelerate simulations, right? When you can move 4,500 times quicker, it doesn't mean 6 months to validate 6 designs, right? We're giving engineers the ability to cycle through thousands, tens of thousands of designs in a build cycle. That's incredibly powerful. But I think the other applications that I find equally exciting, the similar technology, is when you automatically are able to generate designs. When you can move that much faster to sweep through simulations, you can also sweep through different design iterations to identify the optimal performance design that hits the targets you're looking for. And I think personally most exciting is being able to update the fidelity of these models to real-world data, moving beyond the rigid mathematical model and training on experimental data to improve your prediction capability. And so these are 3 things that we build at Godela, and I think I'm most excited about getting this into the hands of engineers so that we can help collapse their R&D cycles. The thing that we're very biased, but we're strong believers in is this type of unlock is not 10 years down the line, it's not 5 years down the line. The technology exists today to allow engineers to innovate really at the speed of thought. And I think when we make this more accessible, you're allowing hardware innovation to move at the speed of software innovation. And so, I don't know if we have any time for questions, but if not, you can always feel free to reach out to us. We're looking for hardware companies to pilot our demo product with. Thank you guys. Any questions? Sure. Oh, any questions?
Anyone have a question?
Yeah.
I'm an engineer and also the software. It's very inspiring. So somebody talked about Autodesk going down. You're talking about ANSYS going down with your stuff, or the Sol systems going down with your stuff, so to speak, if you project to the future. So that's terribly exciting. The biggest challenge that I see is engineers are accustomed to known methods, known regulations and that. And although you may be 4,000 times faster or better, you have a task ahead of establishing, saying you're better than ANSYS or the Sol systems. How are you going to do that?
That's a great question. I would first say I don't hope for ANSYS or the Sol systems to go down. ANSYS is very near and dear to my heart. It's where I learned so much of my engineering intuition from. I think it augments the engineering workflow more than anything. I think we're talking about not nailing and knocking out simulations, but speeding up the process from which you go from question to verified solution. It's about tackling that loop. In terms of adoption friction, absolutely, because ANSYS and Console, all these systems are built on methods that engineers know and understand and can, hand calculate out. It's very hard to disrupt that type of trust, and I wouldn't advocate that you solely ever design something based on this, right? I think that what I can say right now is this can give us a starting point to optimize the process by which we narrow down what is the range of optimal designs. I think just being able to leverage this to explore wider design space is significant unlock that can now bleed into you going in and using higher fidelity tools like ANSYS to go and model with more detail. Does that make sense? Great. Anything else?
No, I have a question. So you talk about digital twins, right? So all the hyperscalers have digital twins for 10 years, right? So as a customer, I can take your model and tweak my digital twin?
Well, I guess when I think about digital twins in this application, our definition here is closer to like a virtualized product. It means updating this representation of your system based on experimental data that you collect. And so I think because digital twin is a very It takes many different shapes. I would have to understand what you have right now to be able to answer whether or not we could. But I think the baseline I would like to communicate is, you have this set of experimental data and you have this representation that's digital. Allow us to blend that for you so that you have a hyper accurate virtual representation of your product. Yeah. Great.
Thank you so much. Big round of
Thank you
applause.
guys so much.